the Philadelphia 76ers are a very good basketball team. To be able to say that after years of going through the quote-unquote process where they won a combined 47 games in 3 years, that definitely feels like vindication. Ever since Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were finally healthy enough to play together in 2017, the Sixers have won more than 60% of their games. But despite the fact that they've garnered relative success the past few years, it just felt this season that, with their two bright young stars, the Sixers were still capable of so much more. Simply put, their roster composition feels a little bit broken, and it feels like they need to make a change. But for them to be able to really unlock the potential they've been building since #the process began, I think that change has to be a big one. What's up, guys? My name is Colin, and today I'm going to talk about why I think the Sixers need to roll the dice and consider trading Joel Embiid if things don't get better soon. Flashback to the 17-18 season, and things were looking up for Philly. They had closed the season on a 16-game winning streak and finished as the 3rd seed in the East. And the next step for a young, talented team with regular season success has always been to make a big splash in the playoffs, because a young team's first playoff moments are often a sign of things to come. Think Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook's Thunder challenging the Lakers in the 2010 first round as an 8th seed. Or Steph and Clay turning into the Splash Brothers during their magical 2013 playoff run as the 6th seed. But for these Sixers, their first run and crack at doing exactly that ended in a brutal second round exit in 5 games. And it was in a series they were actually expected to win against a Celtics team without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. And you might think, come on Colin, you gotta give them a pass for that one. They made it to the second round. But the fact of the matter is they lost to a team led by a rookie Jason Tatum. That's just not acceptable. And of course, who could forget about how last year's playoff run ended for the Sixers?
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Some might say that this was actually progress because they were one missed Kawhi shot away from beating the eventual champions, but you have to remember that Jimmy Butler was actually the best player in that series for the Sixers and not Joel Embiid.
He's been their best player in the playoffs.
Butler posted 22.7 rebounds and 6 assists per game in that series, while Embiid posted absolutely pedestrian numbers and shot a shameful 37% from the field. You could argue that Embiid's struggles were due to a reported sickness, but I'd argue that health is actually an additional piece of baggage that comes along with having Joel Embiid. Going back to the main point, both the 2013 Warriors and 2010 Thunder took just 3 years to go from playoff upstart to actually making the finals. And in each of those 3 years, they showed clear steps and progress and reasons to be optimistic for the future. But with every year that passes the Sixers by, the expectations for their team only grow, but the team doesn't seem to be growing with them. On paper, the Sixers are a great team worthy of the contender label, but on the court, they've stagnated. And things don't get any easier as contracts grow even heavier, just like their expectations. Following their playoff loss to Toronto, and also of Jimmy Butler, who went and took his talents to South Beach, the Sixers committed $300 million to Al Horford and Tobias Harris. Once Ben Simmons' max extension kicks in next year, it's going to be close to impossible for this team to make any improvements to their personnel, with $120 million annually committed to just 4 players, none of whom shot above 37% from 3 last year. If given the chance, I think the Sixers would go and press Control Z on the Al Horford deal.
Can someone tell me how the hell he got into our system?
Shit. And possibly now they want to be able to trade him away. But Al Horford turns 34 this year and has shown some signs of decline. If the Sixers want to get rid of him, they're likely going to have to give up assets, and for a team as shallow as them right now, that's not something they can afford. But if the 76ers decide to trade Joel Embiid, that would turn Al Horford from a sunk cost to a potentially more useful player as the team's primary 5. Horford's defensive presence and still passable floor spacing at the center position would help maximize the team's other, or at least in this case, lone elite talent, one Benjamin David Simmons. When people think of Ben Simmons, they usually think of this. Or this. Or maybe this. The NBA loves a good narrative. And the book on Ben Simmons has always been about his lack of shooting. But I think fans should really learn to focus on what he can do instead of what he can't. And boy, he can do a hell of a lot. Shooting aside, Ben Simmons could be the best young two-way player in the league outside of Giannis. For all his offensive shortcomings, Ben Simmons is a transcendent defensive talent. He received a lot of flack coming into the NBA for a lack of defensive effort, but he's turned that narrative completely around at this point in his career. Big Ben leads the league in steals, ranks third in deflections per game, and places second in loose balls recovered per game. At 6'10", 240 pounds, and with the agility of a guard, Simmons is one of only a few players that can literally guard 1 through 5 in the NBA. Then there's his godly passing game. He currently ranks as one of the league's premier passers at 5th in assists per game this season. And while people make fun of him for being unable to make a three-pointer, well, I have a hot take for you. I think Ben Simmons is actually the best three-point shot creator in the game today.
A below-average three-point shooter. There's Simmons! Yes! He did it! Ben Simmons! Hold me back, fan! Maybe now they'll finally leave him alone after that!
Here's some stats to back that one up. Ben Simmons has assisted on 230 made three-point shots this season. That's the most in the league. And that's 40 more three-point assists than anybody not named LeBron, who trails Ben Simmons by 5. That's also considering that Simmons missed 11 games this season due to a back injury. And while LeBron, the current league leader in assists at 10.6 per game, creates a three-pointer on 35% of his assists, Simmons generates a 3 on 52% of his assists. And this was no fluke either. Last year, Ben Simmons had the second highest assist goal for threes, behind only Chris Paul. What makes Ben's total more impressive is, of course, we know that Paul played for a Rockets team that shot everything from downtown, while the Sixers were only ranked 19th in made three-pointers. That basically shows that Simmons is able to create quality three-point opportunities out of thin air, despite the fact that his team doesn't have the roster or schemes to really help him maximize that talent. The main reason the team isn't adequately being built around Ben Simmons is because of the guy who was drafted in Philly 2 years before. And that's understandable, because Joel Embiid is the more accomplished player at this point in their careers. Ben Simmons is an all-star, Joel Embiid is second-team All-NBA, Ben Simmons is dating Kendall Jenner, Embiid's out here turning down Rihanna.
She denied me back then, so why go with her again? So I have to pass that and move on to the next one.
A quick look at the numbers show that while Ben is a dynamic player and has an all-around game, Joel produces elite numbers at the center position and is definitely the focal point of their team. Because of this, the Sixers lead the league this year in Embiid's bread and butter, the post-up. Philadelphia posts up more than any other team in the league by far, and Embiid himself leads the league in posts up per game, and he does so extremely efficiently at 1.4 points per possession. That's in the 90th percentile. But during a time when the league moves more and more towards perimeter play, the Sixers are zigging when they really should be zagging. And while Embiid can maintain his dominant post play during the regular season, it becomes much easier to stop in the playoffs. In 19 postseason games and 4 different playoff series, Embiid has shot just 43% from the field. And not only that, his points per post-up possession in the playoffs are at just 0.84. Simply put, it's much easier for teams to game plan against a post-up heavy offense than it is to stop a free-flowing offense with multiple shot creators. It's pretty clear that both Embiid and Simmons have developed into tremendous players since they entered the league, but it's fair to question how effective they've been when playing together. At first, they meshed quite well and had a plus-minus of plus 15.5 back in 2017. But that pair plus-minus is now down to plus 0.9, making the Simmons-Embiid pairing one of the Sixers' worst this season. So, as the two have improved individually as players, they've grown more and more apart on the court. In January of this season, Embiid had to sit out 9 games due to injury. In the 9 games without Joel Embiid and with Horford at the 5, the Sixers went 6-3, and they were led by Ben Simmons, who pumped in 21.6 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 7.9 assists. One of his more notable games from that stretch was a 28-point, 10-rebound, 8-assist, 4-steal night, where he shot 12 of 15 from the field en route to a 108-91 demolition of the LeBron James Lakers. Games like this are the ones that make you wonder, what if Ben Simmons just had enough free reign and spacing all the time? Could he really be Philly's own version of the man I alluded to earlier? Giannis? People seem to forget that it's just Ben's 3rd season actually playing in the NBA. The fact that he was too good too soon might have actually raised the level of expectations too much for him. But that doesn't mean he isn't capable of still reaching them. While Simmons has maintained his triple-double watch numbers the last 3 years, he's actually improved his true shooting percentage every year, and he's been more efficient from the field and even from the free throw line. Where he's actually declined has been his usage. Here's a crazy stat for you. Fellow All-Stars like Luka Doncic and Trae Young command a usage north of 30%, but Ben Simmons' mark falls way below that at just 20.5. This is down from his usage last year and even dipped from his rookie season. For a number 1 overall pick that by all accounts is still really good, that's absurd. By comparison, look at the other players in the 2016 draft that are either all-stars or above average. Brandon Ingram, the number 2 pick, his usage has gone up every year for 4 years. So has Pascal Siakams, so has Domantas Sabonis, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Buddy Hield, and Karis LeVert. Ben Simmons is the only player among all those guys mentioned to post even just 1 season of declining usage. And not only that, he actually posted a lower usage rate than every single one of them this season. In an alternate universe, we could have seen Ben Simmons develop as the unquestioned alpha on a young team, just like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, or even Donovan Mitchell, the man he beat for the Rookie of the Year award. But as long as Joel Embiid remains the focal point of this Philadelphia franchise, that's not going to happen. But it's not too late to find out. For Sixers fans who don't want to mess up a good thing, I understand where you're coming from. You can even let me know in the comments. But for me, the 76ers team, as currently constructed, will have a really difficult time hitting the expectations set by the talent on their roster. But there's definitely still time to make the right roster decisions in the next few seasons. And maybe this time, the ball will finally bounce their way. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to brace myself for any 76ers fans who think this is stupid. But if you don't, watch out for a video coming soon on potential trade scenarios the Sixers can do with Joel Embiid. Hope you can like and subscribe and comment down below if you think this was a good idea or if I'm just really dumb.